So, Pauli, how are data analytics changing the HR processes?
I think the changes are coming in three stages actually. The first stage is being about making the processes themselves more quantifiable, which I mean that we need to gather a broad understanding from the various aspects how the process is working from the different perspectives. So I mean that we are not just take a recruitment process as an example, that we don't just measure the traditional KPIs like time to hire and so forth, but we really want to understand the experience from the candidate aspect, from the HR manager aspect, and the recruiter manager aspect. So we really want to understand the different details and nuances, how is the process actually working. So we need to have this understanding first. So some of the problems that I see happening out there is that companies are buying new technology for recruitment, for instance, but when they are selecting the technology and then redesigning the processes to fit that new technology, it's rare to find anyone thinking the new technology implementation and process design from the data and analytics perspective. So what might happen that the technology sells well, the recruitment process itself and the recruiting manager, but when thinking from the broader analytics perspective, when we want to combine the data with the other data sources, we might have some important data points missing, or the data is in a format that it's really difficult to combine with the other data sources. So that's why I found many organizations are struggling with. On the second stage, I see what's happening is optimization and redesign of the processes. So after we are gathering broad understanding of how the process works and what are the different aspects to it, we're able to use the data to redesign the approach and start asking questions like, what are the drivers behind a great candidate experience? How is the process flow working, and how should we optimize the different aspects of the process? How can we decrease bias and increase diversity of the recruitment? So really starting to conduct different pilots and starting to redesign the approach, or the standard approach where we started with. So that's what the data analytics enable us to do. So in the third and final stage, we are talking about automation and application of artificial intelligence to the processes. So at this stage, we are taking all the possibilities what analytics and these new amazing technologies can offer us, and really embed them into the process. So it's not done separately any longer. So what we are doing is that we are automating the processes and adding some cognitive technologies like IBM Watson is a good example of that. So what we are doing is that we are using a lot of data there, and the interface is cognitive, so that it's not a difficult technical platform where a data analyst does its magic, but instead it's just a mobile app, for instance, where you can ask questions about the new job position. They can automate staff scheduling, for instance. They can provide the HR's first level support on answering on the often frequently asked questions. They can provide us checklists how different processes should be run, and then really help us to do things efficiently. And it's not about taking HR out of the processes, but it's about augmenting themselves so that the HR people can then focus on the more value-adding stuff of these processes. So really amazing things happening, and I see lots of interest, especially among the big companies, that they are now starting to pilot these new cognitive applications to their processes.
Okay, so Pauli, what kind of resistance have you found amongst HR managers for these type of projects?
Well, if we start by looking at the traditional HR profile, traditional HR people, they are people who, first of all, they care a lot about people. They are concerned about the well-being and the development of people. So it's not very often that you find HR people that want to work in HR because they love numbers, or that they like to follow the advancements of modern technology and analytics. So I suppose a lot of these fears and concerns towards these technologies analytics comes from the pure, not just understanding what it is and what is all that complexity behind analytics, how it works. So I guess a lot of the fears come from that aspect. And if you think of some other examples, for instance, I've heard a lot of HR, they fear that we are now taking a human element out of these processes by applying these technologies. But I think that it should be quite the opposite, that this just frees our time to focus more on the meaningful things, to provide that human aspect to these processes. Other example that I believe that they are afraid of is from their very own perspective, that when these technologies are going to automate and augment the current doings of the HR people, many of them are probably concerned on how to keep their own expertise relevant when working alongside these technologies. So probably they need to increase their own experience some way. And the third point is that I believe many senior managers, they are afraid of their own position, because if you think of they've worked their career ladder up by basing on many of their doings in the gut feel. And now if all this analytics makes some of their old processes like performance management, it shows that it's not bringing any results, they need to fix that. And that can be scary to face, that the things that you've been doing so far, they might not be working as well as you were hoping that they were.
Okay, so Pauli, where to start with HR analytics then?
Yes, so I found lots of HR enthusiasts out there who have HR problem to solve, but those cases rarely go anywhere because the business really doesn't care about HR's problems. So those cases, they don't get the executive support and funding to get started. So not a good place to start. But that's why we should then turn the lens from the business perspective and then try to think what would be relevant for the business for us to solve from the people analytics perspective, and trying to build the business cases around those use cases. And for the business cases, then we need to think of the potential value of the solutions. And when thinking of the value, I recommend always to look it through big numbers. So think of the amount of employees impacted from your business case or use case for analytics. Other aspect is to think it on how many decisions it would impact. Is it a one-time solution, or is it some decision that your managers out there are thinking daily, and in some way you could inform those decisions and make them a little bit better, perhaps. And then the third point is to think it from the potential value aspect on what are the potential savings that you're looking to achieve, or the potential positive impacts that you are potentially achieving by solving this business case for them. So those are the questions that you should start thinking with. And always, what are you going to do with those findings then? It doesn't pay off if you're just finding some nice correlation between two parameters if there's no way that you can act on that. So think about the actionability of your solution. What are you able to do with it? And also then, if you think it from the other department's perspective, your strategy function, your sales and marketing, your operations, they are all trying to solve business problems from their own perspective. So my recommendation for the HR folks is to go talk with those people, ask what kind of problems they are currently facing and what are they trying to solve from their perspective, and think whether HR has some aspect to support those question settings that they are trying to solve there. So perhaps the people aspect could be part of the answer. That way we avoid working on the same problems from a narrow silo perspective, and we are able to find more robust answers to the questions in place.
Okay, so Pauli, what's the future of people analytics? Where is this thing going?
Well, if you look at the short history first, and many of the practitioners, consultants, they've been predicting that the people analytics will take off for years now, and still I think it hasn't been widely adopted at organizations yet. Definitely there's a lot of hype around it. All the events of people analytics, they're full of enthusiasts trying to grasp the advancements in people analytics, and I think how could they apply it in their own organizations. But still the wide adoption there, of those organizations who are actually doing some advanced stuff there, I don't see it happening that much. There are those early adopters who are moving fast forward, but then there's a big majority who are still struggling even with some basic reporting stuff in their organization. So not yet moving fast forward, unfortunately. If you look at them from the technology perspective, that is moving tremendously fast. Technology today can do stuff that just a few years ago many of us would have thought is pure science fiction, but now that technology enables us to totally rethink the way how work is done and how organizations are run. So truly enables us to do incredible things. But all those things, they require that we are able to be proactive and we have a strong vision to do these kind of things, because HR people, we are very often used to wait for commands from the business that do this, and then we kindly just deliver on that. But the business executives, they have other concerns in the table at the moment, so we cannot count on them that they're able to ask these kind of things from us. We need to present it for them. So sooner or later, I'm sure that the executive boards, they will realize the potential of people analytics as well. And then the question remains that at that point, is HR ready to deliver on it, if that's the case? And it might be the case that HR is not capable on delivering. They lack the competencies needed to do these things right. And actually, there are many experts out there who have predicted that the HR will totally miss this opportunity, and some other departments will start delivering on people analytics. Perhaps we are going to combine the analytics value chain as a big analytics organization, and people analytics is just going to be a small part of that value chain, delivering analytics from the people perspective. So that's a likely outcome. What is sure though, that I believe that there are going to be many different models on how the organizations are going to deliver the people analytics in the future. So the question for HR is that the people analytics, it's definitely coming, but the big question mark for HR is, what is HR's role in it? Will HR people be the ones doing these analytics projects and working alongside with consultants and then technology people to totally redesign their processes and organizations with the enablement of technology and data? Not sure, but definitely it's coming, and it's now on HR's hands to take a stake for themselves of it and build their own future around it.
Great, Pauli. Thanks for these insights.
Thanks.